What do you do when the person who promised forever starts feeling like a stranger sleeping in your bed? The crazy part is that I didn't even realize I was losing her until I looked up one night and understood that maybe I never truly had her. The night it really hit me, I walked into our apartment and found her on the balcony in the dark, whispering into her phone like she was afraid the walls might listen. She wasn't crying. She wasn't angry. She was smiling, soft, warm. The kind of smile I used to think was only for me. Then she saw me, froze for half a second, and hung up like she had just been caught cheating on a test. She laughed it off and said it was nothing. I wanted to believe her so bad that I actually pretended that half second didn't feel like a punch to the chest. Before that, everything felt perfect. Or at least, it looked perfect enough to pass for love. We met like something out of a cheesy rom-com. Random loud bar, wrong drink delivered to the wrong table. She joked that fate was clumsy but cute. I liked that. She had this confident, soft energy kind of charm. Not loud, not attention hungry, just quietly unforgettable. She didn't feel like chaos. She felt like ease. She'd lean into me when she talked, laugh at the dumbest things, say I feel safe with you, and it meant everything. Because I grew up believing love was supposed to feel like a rescue. We moved fast, but not in a reckless way. Or at least that's what I told myself. She introduced me to her friends. She saved my photos like they mattered. We cooked together, grocery shopped together, did boring life things and made them feel special. She would fall asleep with her hand locked in my shirt like she was afraid. I'd disappear. She'd whisper future plans like they were already halfway real. Marriage someday. A little house, kids, a normal warm life. I didn't just fall for her. I built my entire idea of happiness around her. But red flags rarely come screaming. They show up like whispers you talk yourself out of hearing. It started small. Little things that didn't match. A text she'd flip her phone over for. A new password she forgot to tell me. That weird delay when I'd ask, "Who was that?" And she'd stare at the wall for half a second before answering. She started saying she was tired a lot. Always exhausted. Always not in the mood, not just physically, emotionally. Like conversations suddenly took effort. She would zone out when I talked about my day, but light up when she got a message from someone else. Not in a dramatic way. Just enough for me to feel like I was slowly being pushed out of a room. I didn't know I wasn't allowed in anymore. I blamed myself, obviously. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You assume you're the problem. Maybe I wasn't romantic enough. Maybe I got boring. Maybe real-life responsibilities killed the spark. I told myself relationships naturally calm down. That passion fades, but love stays. That loyalty means staying even when things don't feel perfect. Then she started being busy. Girls' nights that somehow stretched until sunrise. Work meetings that never got added to any calendar. A sudden obsession with privacy. She'd shower with her phone on the bathroom counter. Face down, sound off. She turned off read receipts because it stresses me out. She said it so casually that I nodded like it made sense, even though my gut was screaming. But the thing about your gut is it doesn't yell at first. It just whispers, quiet, persistent, asking questions you don't want answered. The balcony call that night was the first moment I couldn't pretend anymore. The way she smiled, the softness in her voice. That wasn't how you talk to a coworker. That wasn't how you talk to a friend. That was how you talk to someone you're scared of losing. I didn't confront her, not that night. I just stood there with this weird numbness spreading through me. She came over, wrapped her arms around me, kissed my cheek like everything was fine. And it almost worked, because love makes you stupid in a gentle way. Not dramatic stupid, just quietly, willingly blind. The next few weeks felt like a slow emotional drought. She was physically there, but emotionally checked out. We'd sit on the couch together, but feel an ocean apart. She'd laugh at my jokes like it was muscle memory, not joy. She'd hug me like habit, not want. Sometimes I'd watch her when she didn't know I was looking, and she looked sad. Not guilty, not conflicted, just elsewhere. Like her heart had moved, and her body forgot to follow. I kept telling myself relationships go through phases, that maybe she needed space, maybe she was stressed, maybe life was just heavy. But every time she pulled away, I felt something inside me shrinking. Every unanswered question, every weird coincidence, every "you're overthinking," they stacked up inside me until it felt like I was carrying a secret weight that wasn't even mine. The turning point wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some movie scene with screaming and shattered glass. It was quiet, boring even. She left her laptop unlocked. She never does that. I didn't go digging. I swear I didn't sit down like some detective looking for pain. I just saw a message preview pop up. A name I didn't recognize. A heart emoji. Then another. Then another. And that same soft tone she used to talk to me when I still felt like home. She walked in and saw me standing there, Our eyes met. And in that exact moment, I realized something brutal. I wasn't scared of losing her anymore. I was scared I already had. And here's the worst part. I still didn't yell. I didn't explode. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even ask a question. I just felt tired, like my heart put its hands up and said, I can't fight for this alone anymore. That night I lay next to her in bed. Silence between us, her breathing steady, mine pretending to be. And I kept thinking, if she loved me, why am I the one feeling like a stranger in my own relationship? What hurts most isn't finding out someone lied to you. It's realizing they lied so comfortably that somewhere along the line, you stopped existing in their truth. The morning after I saw those messages, life pretended to be normal. Sunlight, coffee, routine. She acted like nothing was wrong. She moved around the kitchen, humming some song, smiling like my heart hadn't dropped the night before. I wanted to ask. I wanted to say, who is he? I wanted to hold the laptop in front of her and make her explain why someone else got the version of her I used to wake up to. But I didn't, because I already knew the answer. So instead, I stood there sipping cold coffee, pretending my chest wasn't caving in while she kissed my cheek and said, I'll be home late tonight. Don't wait up, like I was a roommate, like I was a placeholder. Like love was something she only remembered when it was convenient. That day felt endless. Work didn't make sense. Music was too loud. Silence was worse. My brain wouldn't stop replaying every suspicious moment I had brushed off. Every time she turned away in bed. Every sudden busy schedule change. Every fake laugh. It all lined up now. A pattern I didn't want to see earlier because when you love someone, denial feels safer than truth. By the time night came, my chest felt hollow. She texted around midnight, staying at Mia's girls. Night ran long, short, casual, no love you, no warmth. Just a statement. Like she was reporting where the company car was parked. I stared at that message for a long time, and instead of anger, I felt something worse. Acceptance. It hit me that I wasn't fighting for us anymore. I was fighting to keep a memory alive, a version of her that wasn't here. I didn't sleep much. I just laid there thinking about every choice we make when we love someone. How we ignore small lies. How we forgive emotional distance. How we keep offering patience like one day it will magically fix everything. And yeah, loyalty is beautiful, but loyalty to the wrong person? It becomes self-betrayal. She came home the next morning smelling like a perfume I didn't recognize. Not mine, not hers. Somebody else's world had touched her. She showered, changed, moved around like she wasn't burning. My entire sense of safety to the ground. Then she kissed my forehead, called me baby, and for a split second I almost believed her again. That's the scary thing about love. Even when you know it's dying, your heart still begs for CPR. Later that week, I finally broke the silence. We were sitting on the couch. Same room, different planets. I said her name and my voice cracked more than I wanted it to. When she looked at me, it wasn't with fear, or guilt, or panic. It was with irritation, like I was interrupting something more important. So I asked quietly, "Are you happy with me?" No accusations, no drama. Just the question I had been avoiding because I wasn't ready to hear the answer. She hesitated, just for a second, but that second told me everything. She didn't cry, she didn't deny. She didn't even lie well. She just shrugged and said, "Things have changed, people change. Maybe we rushed things. Maybe we want different stuff now." Soft voice, careful words, like she was trying to break a bone gently. I kept nodding like I understood. Like it was logical. Like people change was a good enough excuse to emotionally abandon someone who still wakes up every day choosing you. Then I asked the question I already knew the answer to. Is there someone else? She didn't immediately say no, and silence is still an answer. She finally whispered, "It's complicated," and that's when the air went cold. Because when someone really loves you, it's never complicated. It's never maybe. It's never I don't know. She didn't even say sorry. She just sat there like we were discussing a boring problem that didn't have a neat solution. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I didn't fall apart in front of her, even though every part of me wanted to scream. I just nodded again, because if I opened my mouth, I knew I'd break. Later that night, she slept peacefully next to me while my mind tore itself apart. And that's when I realized something brutal. She wasn't torn between two people. She had already chosen. She just hadn't told me yet. And somehow, she still expected me to stay. So here I am, lying next to a woman who used to be my safe place. Now feeling like she's the stranger who broke into my life and stole everything warm. And I keep asking myself, do I hold on and hope the girl I loved comes back? Or do I finally admit she's already gone? It's wild how a relationship can still look intact from the outside while it's already dead on the inside. We were still doing normal couple things, grocery shopping, sitting beside each other on the couch, sharing the same bed, but the connection was gone. The warmth was gone. And the worst part? She seemed totally okay with it. I started noticing details my heart had ignored before. She was always texting someone but never laughing at my jokes anymore. She'd dress up to go out with friends, even though she barely tried when we went out together. She started wearing a different perfume. She changed her hair. She changed her vibe. It was like she was evolving, but I wasn't included in the upgrade. One night, around 2 a.m., I woke up and the bed was empty. She was in the living room, sitting in the dark, phone glowing in her hand, smiling, whispering, laughing softly in a way I hadn't heard in months. I didn't say a word. I just stood there in the hallway watching the woman I loved talk to someone else like I didn't even exist. And the thing that hurt most wasn't jealousy. It was realizing she could still be loving and sweet, just not with me. The next morning, she was cold again, quiet, detached, like that soft version of her was only available on a private subscription someone else was paying for. That's when something in me snapped, but not in an angry way, more like a quiet collapse. I stopped chasing. I stopped checking her phone. I stopped asking where she was going. I stopped begging for reassurance. I stopped trying to be something she didn't want anymore. Instead, I just watched, observed. Let reality speak for itself. And reality had teeth. A few days later, I got confirmation I didn't even look for. I picked up her jacket to hang it and a hotel keycard slid out of the pocket. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I just stared at it like a receipt for something I already knew I had been charged for. She came into the room, saw it in my hand, and froze for less than a second before putting on this tired, annoyed look. Not guilty, not devastated, just annoyed that the truth finally had a physical form. She didn't even try to sell a story. She just sighed and said, "Can we not do this right now?" Not, "It's not what you think." Not, "Let me explain." Not even, "I'm sorry." Just pure emotional laziness. That sentence told me everything. She wasn't scared of losing me. She was inconvenienced by the confrontation. Like my heartbreak was getting in the way of her schedule. That night, I sat in my car alone for almost an hour before going inside. No music, no crying, just silence. And in that silence, I realized something I wish I had understood sooner. Love shouldn't make you feel like you're begging to be chosen. When I finally walked back in, she was in bed scrolling like nothing was wrong. I looked at her and for the first time, I didn't see the girl I fell in love with. I saw someone who had already emotionally left me weeks ago and just didn't have the courage to pack her bags. I laid down beside her and it didn't feel like lying next to my girlfriend. It felt like lying beside a stranger who was still wearing my girlfriend's face. And here's the part nobody warns you about. When trust breaks slowly, you don't explode. You just fade, piece by piece, until you're not even heartbroken anymore. You're just done. So now I'm here, standing at the edge of a love I once believed would last forever, trying to decide whether I hold on to the history we built, or protect the little self-respect I have left. Because staying feels like self-destruction, but walking away feels like tearing out the last piece of my heart that still believes in us. The day everything truly ended didn't come with yelling, broken dishes, or dramatic tears. It arrived quietly, like a decision that had been sitting there for weeks, just waiting for me to finally pick it up. We were sitting across from each other at the kitchen table. Same place we used to laugh, same place we planned our future. Now it just felt like neutral ground between two strangers pretending. They didn't already know how this story ends. She scrolled on her phone while I stared at my coffee going cold. I don't know what changed in that moment, but something inside me finally stopped pleading, stopped bargaining, stopped hoping she'd suddenly look up and choose me. So I simply said, "I think we're done." My voice didn't shake. My hands didn't tremble. It almost scared me how calm I felt. She looked up, not shocked, not heartbroken, just relieved, like I had finally taken something heavy off her shoulders that she didn't know how to carry anymore. And that hurt more than any confession ever could, because she didn't fight for me. She didn't beg for us. She didn't even ask why. She just nodded softly and whispered, "Yeah, I think so too." No apology, no explanation, just acceptance. We talked logistics. Who would leave? Who keeps what? It sounded like we were dissolving a business partnership, not ending a love story. Every memory was reduced to what belongs to who. Every moment we once treasured became an object to categorize. When she started packing, I helped. Not because I wanted to, but because I didn't want to hate her while she walked out of my life. She paused at the door for a second, like she wanted to say something meaningful, something to justify the wreckage, something to acknowledge that we were once everything to each other. All she said was, "I hope you understand someday." Then she left. No dramatic goodbye, no last kiss, no closure that tied everything neatly. Just silence. I stood in the empty apartment afterward, and it finally hit me. This wasn't just losing a girlfriend. It was losing the future I had built in my head. The family we talked about. The plans we whispered late at night, all of it gone. Not because love failed, but because someone stopped choosing it. And yeah, I cried. Not loud, not messy. Just quiet tears for a version of us that only I had still been protecting. Weeks passed and people kept telling me, "You'll move on. It'll make sense later. She didn't deserve you anyway." But none of that helps at first, because grief doesn't care about logic. You can know leaving was right and still ache for what you lost. But something beautiful eventually showed up in the middle of all that pain. Peace. Not instant. Not easy. Just this slow realization that I didn't lose myself trying to save something that was already gone. I walked away before I completely disappeared inside someone else's convenience. And maybe that's what growth really looks like. Not winning, not revenge, just choosing yourself when love stops choosing you. Now here's the part I keep thinking about, and the question I still don't fully know the answer to. When your partner emotionally cheats, when they disconnect slowly and let someone else take your place, but you still love them, do you fight harder to save what you had, or do you walk away to save what's left of you?